Before we kick off our episode, I would like to say a quick and heartfelt thank you to Underfoods and its CEO, Asif. Asif, thank you very much. You continue to give us great service. The food is fantastic. Asanteni sana.
Hii jikoni ingekuwa ni ngoma, hiyo ngoma ingekuwa ina sound aje?
Hi everyone, this is Ali Hussein Kasim of AliTalksTech. Today I have my brother, what I love to say, my Nigerian Kenyan brother. Here, John Egwu. John is Group Chief Operating Officer at AutoCheck. John, karibu sana.
Yeah, thank you, Ali.
Yes. Thank you. John, it's just such a pleasure to have you here today.
Same, likewise.
And as I always like to say, this is not an interview. This is it's a conversation between friends, just like, we can have a coffee at Java and talk.
As always, yeah?
As always. So, AutoCheck, John, who is John? Just a bit of a background about John, and then, we can flow from there.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. I don't think it's often I sit in such esteemed platforms to kind of speak, so this is quite decent. Personally, I'm not really a camera guy, right?
Don't worry. My executive director will do his magic.
Okay. And it's often like John is a guy that builds, gets things done in the background, and not really play to the fanfare of the camera and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but John, I think I've been around. Next year I'll probably be climbing the fourth floor.
Wow.
I'm a Nigerian, but I do identify as a Kenyan.
So you're still in your late 30s?
Yes,
That's amazing.
Late 30s, yeah.
So you're a Nigerian, but you identify as a Kenyan?
Yeah, I'm Nigerian, but I love Kenya. I love Kenya. So as a professional, I started my career way back 2011. One can say I was in the very formative age of African e-commerce, because
that is correct.
That was with Jumia. Jumia in the very early years when a lot of this concepts around building in Africa was really started. So I was a fresh graduate, and so I think I kind of worked my way through. Well, there was a little story before Jumia, and I think you guys picked it up, but
yes,
let's leave that. Let's leave that.
Our research is a bit thorough.
Yeah, it was quite. I'm impressed, very impressed.
So Jumia, you joined Jumia in its formative years. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Jumia was intense, yeah, because I joined Jumia as a customer service agent, right? And the thing was, I think. Some weeks ago, I met the co-founder at Jumia, the original guys, Raphael, and it was just really.
I saw that coffee with him.
Yeah, it was.
And
really
I need him to sit there one of these days.
Yeah, sure. Raph is a very decent guy. He would obviously come around. So it was reliving those memories, right? Because then it did seem like, in hindsight, because I didn't know, I just wanted to get paid, right? It was
wanted a salary.
I just wanted a salary, man. But it was a cluster of some of the brightest minds Africa has had to deal with, and really, I think a lot of all these guys we were still fresh, programmers, customer service experience, operations people, marketing in the very nascent stage, technology. But then I think quickly we found that you really needed to come together to build, because there was nothing. There was no playbook here. These guys had very brilliant ideas, but executing in Africa, you have to figure it out, right?
So they had come with this Western playbook and try to sort of implement it in Africa?
Yeah, so if you dig into the Jumia story, it was really from the Summer Brothers, Rocket Internet.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
trying to
in Germany.
Yeah, they're very strong replicating internet businesses across the world.
Correct.
So it was very clear what that intention was. And yeah, it had Tunde Raphael trying to do that. So quickly, we had to solve those problems real time, right? And one of those problems was exceptional customer service, right? Think about, you're trying to buy an item online, and we are all used to mom and pop shops. Like you want to see,
You
touch,
walk
feel,
in, sit,
to the
feel,
person,
pay in cash,
and then buy.
walk out.
And then someone is telling you, "Hey, buy online, part with cash." It feels like you're speaking Spanish here. So it was going through building that customer loyalty, understanding, and it was thorough. Right, every interaction mattered. The speed of response, the quality of your emails, all that. Those were things we had to deal with in the early stages at Jumia. But like I said, I think I mentioned it on here. I just wanted to get by because I knew I had so much to offer, and I was really looking for someone to give me that chance to kind of express myself
and get paid at the end of the month.
I get paid at the end of the month, but it was really show that you can do more. And sorry to deviate a bit, but I think it's something that is lacking lately in the workforce. You don't get to see a lot of people really have that opportunity and want to do more, right? Thinking back then, it was like, just try, just give me that chance, and I will show you that I'm the best thing. Nigerians will say after sliced bread.
After sliced bread. The best thing after sliced bread.
That was my motive, right?
So let me take you a little bit back to what you just said. You're sorry to say. I mean, it's not deviating. It's part of this conversation.
It could
I
be.
mean, it's part of us being authentic about how we succeed.
True.
How we fail, how we learn. So what do you mean by looking back then and looking at now, you feel that people are not trying hard enough?
So like I said, my journey is I started out in a call center and really went through the ranks.
Yes.
Yeah. And when I said I wanted that opportunity, I was doing everything asked of me, right? But I really knew I needed more.
And then extra.
Yeah, I wanted more. And it was really because I knew I had the capacity. Then you had goals like you need to respond to 80 emails in a day. You needed to do that.
You say 80?
80.
80.
80. Right. You know, you say things like that, now people look at you like a crazy
You're
person.
crazy, yes.
Yeah, it was 80 emails in a day. And you had to hit, like I said, a certain level of quality because your emails are audited. Your voice communication is listened to because Jumia took customer experience to the next level. And this was 2012, 2013.
13 years ago.
Yeah, that was quite a long time ago. And that individual, like the guy that was born there, right? I picked up quite a lot of all those things, right? So that intense work, getting things done the right way, right? And really showing up, right? Because in the grand scheme of building in Africa, if you don't show up, you can't build. Like, let's call it what it is.
The first thing is to show
You
up.
have to show up, right? And that's what those early days were, right? So backtracking a bit,
Yes.
a customer experience agent, but then my interest in data was obviously there. I'm a trained computer scientist because
Yes.
that's my BSc. So I was looking out for what data points can you pick up that could help the customer service, help my manager see things better, shift scheduling.
Data,
Yeah,
and insights.
And insight. It was all that. And someday I sat down near Raphael and I'm like, hey, I want to be this guy, right? I want to be Raphael. And I had a very close friend back then. Name is Peter. Peter Esemwede. Peter was a BI analyst while I was a customer experience person. So we were quite close. And I'll tell Peter, hey, do you have things on your desk? I could do it after my shift. And that's how I kind of got into it. And when the opportunity showed, I moved into BI. So that was the story.
So let us backtrack a bit in terms of how your psyche was at that time. You're a computer engineer, computer science graduate.
Yep.
You start in customer service. How did you feel about that?
I think in Africa, maybe we don't, and it's also not a bad story, right? The continent is developing. So
Yes.
conversations around poor employment or no employment is real, right? And so you really have to show that you are the best, yeah? And in a country like Nigeria, back then, probably 150 million people, right? And Nigerians are very bright-minded individuals, right? So
And extremely aggressive.
extremely, like we're very ambitious, right?
100%.
So if you don't stand out, yeah, like
You
obviously,
don't stand out.
Yeah, if you don't stand out, people, like you get walked over. So that was the psyche. I'm an only son, and in my place, it's fundamental for a man to take care of the house, right? You get out and get the bills, yeah.
That's an African thing.
It's an African thing, right? So that was the psyche. But then
Yes.
to really show up, you'd have to, like if Ali, you were offering everyone here a paycheck to get things done, you would only pay people that are really delivering value.
Yes.
Like, so for you to part with that check, I have to deliver value. So I don't expect you to give me that check because
If I've not delivered value.
if I haven't delivered value. So I think that's the fundamental thesis for me, right? Show up, deliver value, and then get whatever comes with it.
But that's not what it is today, yeah? You are a salaried employee. You expect to be paid at the end of the month, irrespective. I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, so I think those conversations are in the gallows of building in Africa.
Yes.
It's in there.
Okay. So, formative years.
Yeah, so I did business intelligence, and because then in that environment, if you are really pulling the weight, obviously that growth is there. And I think that's the thing about startups, right? Compared to a very structured and advanced entity, you often don't get seen, right? But in a startup, you can really get seen if you are showing up and doing the work, right?
It's also a great opportunity to grow.
It's the fastest way to grow. Because I do remember a few of my friends, colleagues who really joined the Big Four, and I took this route of working in a startup.
So when you're talking about the Big Four, you're talking about the consulting company.
Consulting firms,
the big
likes
tech.
the big tech guys and everything. So entry-level salary was, obviously you were any lower than them, right? But then 2 years down the line, the difference starts to show because then that
Correct.
trajectory is pacing and you're really moving. And you're moving with real experiences. Because remember, there is no playbook.
You're building, actually.
Yeah.
You're building as you go.
You're building, you're learning, you are getting exposed to things that you wouldn't get used to or you wouldn't be exposed to if you are dealing with in a proper firm, right? And that's really what startup offers a lot of people. So that was Jumia. So I did business intelligence. The appetite was still there. What more? So I went into sales. So I started, I picked up a bit of interest in sales. I joined.
Within Jumia.
Yeah, within Jumia.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I had good people around because, you know, it's also important having people around you who really are interested in your growth. So the likes of Raphael, Jeremy Dute, these guys were really interested in your person. And so Jumia, I had the opportunity to join the sales force team, and that's where JForce was birthed. The big JForce, which is really the sales engine in Jumia, agents selling items on the platform and things like that. JForce, yeah. So I worked there as a sales performance manager.
Could you take a little bit of a deep dive into JForce? Yes.
Well, JForce was a brilliant idea because it was really building a sales force that you didn't have to pay, right? I think it's what today is called agency banking or agency.
Yes.
It was that sort of format, and you could retool JForce to sell items of Jumia, right? Because these guys weren't employees; they were all freelancers. They were people that wanted to earn something, and they were selling the whole Jumia idea. At the point, we're using them to get signups on the app, and then it moved on into selling in multiple cities. So
what I like to call eat what you kill.
yeah, that kind of eat what you kill, essentially. but and it had those commission structures, and sales can be very rewarding if you do it very well. So JForce was that monster. I think over 30,000 agents, right? Planning those commissions. It was all that. So that really piqued this interest of building a proper business. Because it's one thing. It's one thing to be in a business, or you're helping someone build a vision. If you are maybe my kind of person, sooner or later you would want to build yourself, and that's really where those seeds were planted. Because I think I went through it all, I saw it, and it was really a very impactful part of my journey. the Jumia story. I think I was in Jumia for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, and then I felt it was time to try other things. Yeah, and then at that early stage, a friend, Mohammed Iyamu, very good friend, still he's a co-founder at AutoCheck as well.
Okay.
He started whispering about, hey, dude, let's try something. But I wasn't sure I was ready to leave the secured.
How many years ago is that?
Oh man, this is maybe 2016.
2016. So
Yeah, 2016
about almost 10 years now.
Yeah. So most started speaking about, hey, there's this thing, this idea, and all that. I don't often say it a lot, but I'm like, hey guys, I'm not going to live this assured life. I'm not going to do it. So you guys do you. I could do a couple of things outside.
But I need that end month salary.
Yeah,
I need that security.
Yeah, I need to be sure before I make that leap, right? So it was a year. In that year, I took time off Jumia, and I joined a local financing firm in Nigeria. And those guys were the first entity, if I remember, that attempted to lend on pre-owned vehicles in Africa. Right.
Interesting.
That was 2016, right? They were really lending to users buying used vehicles, or what we call tokumbo in Nigeria.
Tokumbo.
It's called tokumbo. That was unheard of, right?
Yes.
So I was quite interested, and I'm like, I think I have acquired that knowledge around building, what a functional business can be, selling, dealt with a couple other departments, operations. I can try. So I joined the Concept Group as the National Country Manager for Credit.
The Concept Group. It was called the Concept Group.
Yeah, the TCG.
So you finally left Jumia.
Yeah, I left Jumia.
So you took a time off, but then you finally left Jumia.
One would say if you hear time off, you'd feel like John took 3 months off. Now it was probably a month. Right?
Okay.
It was a month and out and then in.
Okay.
Because also there was an because what happened with Jumia is a lot of the Jumia early employees
left,
moved on to do things. And if you dig across Africa, a lot of us are really building and
that's
doing
correct.
Things, yeah. So one of us had left and was at Concept Group. Chidima.
So let's call you guys the Jumia Mafia.
Oh wow! Okay, that's a very hard one, but okay.
It's like the PayPal Mafia, as it's known. Most of the PayPal original founders and employees actually went out and built.
True.
I mean, one of them is Elon Musk, for example.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
But in Africa, I believe that we don't have to copy everything that we see. I'm choosing to stay away from the PayPal Mafia. But a lot of the Jumia guys have gone on to build incredible things across the continent. So one had left, obviously knew my work, and then said, hey, John, join me at Concept Group. And that's how I moved to Concept Group. And I was there for a year with her. We kind of really... Actually, she's late now. Also a very personal friend, Chidima. May her soul rest in peace. Yeah, so I did 1 year with Chidima. And
yes, God rest her.
and then I needed to move back to the business because, I briefly mentioned that a friend was speaking to me about a business, starting a business, yeah. So I joined, my current group CEO, Itopikwe, and Mohammed had teamed up, and then the business had really taken off. I think I probably joined maybe when we had sold the first 87 cars in Cars 45. So that was a year.
So you're still very early.
Yeah, I was still very early in there. And so it was joining in that early.
Okay.
Cars 45, so that's 3 firms now, right? Jumia, my foundation. Concept Group exposed me to structured financing, lending to a very unsecured market, and really what I think would drive Africa or would drive my
100%,
career in the following years. And then I got back into really building properly. So I joined Cars 45 then, and yeah, it took off.
Cars 45.
Yeah, Cars 45. So Cars 45 we had planned to build the first digital used vehicle auctions out of Africa.
Interesting.
Yeah. And one would ask, how were you planning to supply? The cars were coming from retail users. So Ali wanted to sell a car and he needed cash urgently. You could drive into any Cars 45 center, get your car inspected.
So you already had physical centers?
Yeah, so we had, we did that expansion and had physical centers, maybe 50, 60 of them.
50 physical centers?
Yeah, 50 physical centers
in
Nigeria, manned by salespeople,
yes,
right, or we'll call them center managers.
Yes,
and by the way, I think it's also important to mention that Cars 45 was a seed firm or a subsidiary in Frontier Car Group, a firm built out of Berlin.
Okay,
right. So it had also similar businesses across the world, Mexico, Indonesia, and all that. So we had like sister firms that kind of replicated the same idea.
Okay. So you had some structure.
Yeah, there was a little bit of structure, but then it's still a startup, right? And you had to still build it. And so that was the idea. People can drive into a center, get the vehicle inspected, and it goes on an auction, right? And in 45 minutes, you get the value for your car. So that
45 minutes.
In 45 minutes. That was the whole Cars 45 idea, right? And that car moves into a dealer ecosystem where the dealers
immediately
bid and buy. So that was the idea. And what it did was creating liquidity for regular people who had invested in vehicles, right? And then for the dealers, became a very clean supply channel for buying vehicles.
Interesting.
So that was Cars 45.
Almost, you would probably call it asset light for the dealers. They wouldn't buy the vehicles. They would get into the ecosystem, or how did that work?
So it was a mix of all that, because we also had to try a couple of things, right? And obviously, like the saying, in the business, you have to pivot as you're learning, as you're picking up the data. One would assume that the dealers had the liquidity to make the outright purchase. Maybe they buy the first couple of cars, but then you realize that they really needed liquidity to buy more vehicles. So that would lead you into thinking of how can you support that demand. I think on one of your shows, you guys spoke about listening to your customers, right?
100%.
Yeah, that was purely listening to what the dealers really needed. They needed liquidity to buy more vehicles, right? And that would drive the flywheel effect on the ecosystem,
100%,
right?
100%.
So therein, you would have a little bit of asset deployment or carriage deployment. One can argue, is it asset light, not asset light? But in essence, it did work, right? At peak, Cars 45 had maybe 8 storage locations where the dealers now stored the vehicles that they bought off the platform.
8 storage locations.
Each the smallest size would probably be 100
vehicles.
100 vehicles parked at a point in time. And I think at that point I was leading what we called Cars Bazaar operations, right?
Yes.
Which was still inside Cars 45. Because that then was really an auction.
Correct.
So if you take a look to the left, and let's look at Europe and or other developed parts of the world, you hear about auctions at Dessa, Mannheim.
Yes.
So it was recreating that idea. So the dealers were really buying off the platform. Consumers could drive into any of the centers, get their car inspected, and then
move on.
cash is done. And that transaction is done. But then the dealers needed where to store the vehicle. So gradually we moved from really pure asset light to a very transactional, physical location where people walked in, wanted to buy vehicles. The dealers were leasing parts of the lot to store their vehicles. There was quite a lot.
So it was almost like a supermarket shelf.
Yeah. So then you had to sell.
I love that.
So the space, the lot space for the dealer parking, and that also went through multiple iterations, the Saturday auctions, and a lot of all that. But I think that was also another insane part of my life, because having...
How was that?
I think what it does to you as a person, it expands your capacity to deal with problems, right? Because you had, say, 100 vehicles across 8 locations, that's 800 at once. Now, the realities in these locations are different. Customers are coming in,
Different
people
employees.
interaction, managing this asset, ensuring that there is ease of flow, the cars moving, not getting hazard, what one can say workplace hazard situations. So it was that intense, but that taught me how to build order and structure, right? Because then I would liken it to the military structure.
Yes.
You issue a command and everyone on the chain has to follow
It
that
has
command.
to follow that
Don't
command.
step out of line. Because
If
that's
you
the only
step
way,
out of line, then everything goes
that's the only way
off.
you control chaos.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only way to control chaos. So every location had to open at a certain time. Some preparation before that opening happens. The operations on the floor, the guys manning the hours. It was that insane.
You know, interesting you brought up that military example.
Okay.
I think most of us in business sometimes actually do forget the structures
Yeah.
for business. How we strategize comes from military strategy.
True. I, in my opinion, or in my, like I say, my humble opinion, that's really skill, right? Skill is
100%.
doing simple things repeatedly, but in multiple touch points, right?
100%.
Everyone, 1,000 persons doing exactly the same thing, because then you can produce the same quality and the same standard.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that was CAS 45. We went through that for another 4 years, right? Maybe
CAS
four,
45.
Yeah, CAS 45 for 4 or 5 years maybe. And then we decided that Africa is really
The play.
Yeah, the play. Our interest is in Africa. And I think I remember vividly Itop, current group CEO, asking a few of us, and like, hey, dude, guys, can we focus on this thing and really build for Africa? And that's how AutoCheck was birthed or was born, if I use that.
Yes.
So we transitioned from CAS 35 to AutoCheck.
AutoCheck.
Yeah, I'm sure I missed quite a couple of the story,
No, I mean,
but it's okay.
I mean,
because of
it's,
time as well.
it's time. So, AutoCheck. So, CAS 45, AutoCheck. Speak to me about how that was structured and where you currently are and how you are building.
So I think my journey has exposed me to multiple things: core business operation, the strategic part of things, data, and
Retail, Jumia.
retail distribution, and really core operation and supply chain. But it was also undeniable to see that the mobility space is quite big, right? Ticket sizes are quite high. And this continent is burgeoning, like our population is exploding.
1.4 billion.
You can't look at that number and look away, right? And one would ask a very critical question: how can you serve this critical mass called Africa? So strategically, mobility was clear because the market size is quite big, 85 billion, upwards 95 projected. And then the fundamental thing through that journey was affordability is a big thing in Africa. We don't get to speak about it. Yeah, we have the people, but can they afford a service, right? So if you really look at it, I would say affordability gives you access to markets in multiple sectors, right? So in mobility, we had to redefine what would that mean for us, and that clearly was credit, right?
Okay.
So AutoCheck, the real idea at AutoCheck is one, to democratize access to vehicle financing and the car itself, but it was also building a multi-connected ecosystem, right? Where,
Expound on that.
yeah, where it can mean multiple things for multiple people.
Yes.
But let's say AutoCheck is at the heart of it all, but then we are aggregating all the value providers in that ecosystem. The customer who wants to buy a vehicle, getting verified vehicles on AutoCheck. The dealers who want to sell vehicles, having a platform where they can list that vehicle. The insurance entities who struggle to build retail distribution have now one touch point where you can distribute your insurance services. After sales maintenance, garages have assets that they can maintain and manage. And financial institutions, the bank, I think the biggest players in this ecosystem, now have a platform where they can deploy liquidity, all enhancing that automotive trade. That's really the fundamentals of AutoCheck.
So what you've basically just told me is that you built an ecosystem.
Yes.
or you've orchestrated an ecosystem? Because honestly, I mean, as we sit here today in 2025,
Yeah.
people are transitioning from platform businesses to ecosystem businesses. And when we are speaking about ecosystem businesses, we are speaking about the orchestrator, the guy at the center who's orchestrating all this, but doesn't necessarily own
Yeah.
every piece of that ecosystem.
No, through the journey, you have to own, right? Because I think I mentioned in our conversation that Africa, we don't have the rails yet.
Correct.
Right. So, yeah, you have an idea of how you want to create this interconnected ecosystems, but you have to also play your part in it.
True, but you see, my point is you can't own everything. You can't own the insurance company. You can't own the banking side. So your critical role is to make these, for lack of another example, it's like you're the conductor in an orchestra.
Likely, yeah.
If the conductor is not there, there's no orchestra.
The market finds a way to survive. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's chaotic. It becomes chaotic. Everybody, the guy who's doing the cello is doing something else. The guy who's singing is off.
Yeah.
So how have you managed to actually build this ecosystem and orchestrate it in such a way? I mean, you're in how many markets now?
Yeah, AutoCheck today would probably be 9 African markets.
9 African markets.
Yeah, but I think we can't underplay the impact of the core of AutoCheck.
100%. 100%.
At the get-go, there were 8 critical individuals that came together to build this dream for Africa. It made it a lot more easier because you had very competent individuals or
different skill sets,
different views of the problem. Because to solve for Africa, you really need that firepower.
Do you mind for us speaking about those individuals? If you don't,
I think they all like their lives being private, so I'm not going to put them out there.
Okay,
right?
I mean, you don't need to mention their names, but the different roles each one of them played. Because I think it's important for us to understand as a continent what it takes to build this sort of play and continue to grow it.
Yeah, so having that very critical team made it much more easier, right? I think my core strength will be operating a business, right? And maybe dabbling into the data and being very strong strategically.
Hence your role as...
Yeah, hence I'm quite flexible.
As Chief Operating Officer.
Correct. But then members of the team, you'd have very strong, competent finance guys. You had people who could handle investor conversations. You'd have one who can be the face of the business. And you also have
the group CEO.
Yeah, you have brute force people that can interface with what it means to trade in Africa. Because, 100%. Trading in Africa is very unstructured. It's very, I don't want to degrade it, but it is pure brute force.
Yeah.
Like you have to build.
And every country has its own idiosyncrasies.
Every country has its own peculiarities and issues.
As Africans, sometimes we actually forget that Africa is not one country. It's 54 different countries.
Yeah.
And if you are Sahrawi in Morocco, then it's 55 different countries. Great. So,
yeah, so that team played quite a very critical role. And one recurring theme is there is no playbook, right? You have an idea of what you want, and you get in, and it's very different. Right?
But even as you say, there's no playbook. But as you grow, you sort of start creating your own playbook.
True.
And of course, that playbook needs to be flexible enough for it to be iterated.
Yeah.
As you move along.
So we've spoken about the team, how critical that team was, and then what sort of would make up a playbook was for us. You need to have boots on the ground, right? So AutoCheck Trees Live could probably have done like 3 acquisitions. In Kenya, we did Checky Kenya. Checky was a 10-year-old brand here, run by Ringia.
Yes. Yeah.
So we took on that asset. In Morocco, we have Kifal. In Egypt, then there is AutoTiga.
So you are in Nigeria.
Yep.
You are in Morocco.
Ghana.
You are in Ghana.
Senegal,
Egypt,
Egypt, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda next door, Kenya, obviously, South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah, that's 9.
9.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really because look at it, opportunity, right? Credit penetration in Africa is very nascent. People don't have access to credit. Maybe let's exclude South Africa because South Africa has some semblance of a matured market.
Correct.
Right, but when you move towards sub-Saharan Africa, the story kind of changes, right? So you'd have to solve for each of those peculiarities, right? So first will be team. Second thing is like I'm trying to define what we might call a playbook. So you need boots on the ground. Yeah.
So I like the fact that you said first will be team.
Yeah, team is very critical, like because that's the most important thing, right?
So basically, what you're telling me is that you don't care about strategy first. Focus on the team.
Yeah, your team would forge the strategy. The strategy cannot forge a team, right? But again, that's my view. That's my view.
No. I mean, look. I mean, it's always been this catch-22 situation, right? You are a multinational, you come into the country, This is our strategy. Let's find the team. You are a pure play African builder, and you immediately understand that the team on the ground will define what the strategy is.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the two different plays?
I hear you. I see what you're doing there.
So how has that worked for you guys in terms of you know, it takes me back to one of the earliest business books that I read, Built to Last.
Okay, yeah.
First who?
That was a good one.
Then what? We don't seem to really appreciate and understand how important and how fundamental that is. Yeah. And you have said it naturally. I mean,
I think if you speak to a veteran, right, it's second nature to you, right, and not beating around the bush. It's really second nature to you. So defining that, what I would call our playbook is, you need that boots on the ground, and you can't assume you understand it if you haven't sold it, right? And that's what you'd have to keep as a mental note when you make this Pan-African move, building across the continent. And you have to enshrine some level of commitment and excellence in that team, right? So that we can recreate this chain of executing at an acceptable level. And then you keep on learning. As you're learning, it's also important to document and, as much as you can, systemize everything you have learned, right? So boots on the ground. Don't assume you know it if you haven't sold it.
Continuous learning.
Continue to learn.
Systemize as you learn.
Systemize as you're learning. And it just ensure that like the team has that penchant for excellence. Like people need to push for it. That is, for me, the ingredients that we have sort of used to spread this entity across the continent, as you can say today.
So 9 markets today.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, before we sat down, you and I have known each other for a couple of years.
Correct.
And I've been a customer.
Yeah.
And I have appreciated the level of engagement and the level of conversations that I've had with your teams. Even when I have been unhappy, I have absolutely appreciated the way the feedback comes back to me. For me, it's a rarity for an African business. I mean, let's just say it as it is. You know, how have you managed to create that sort of, you know, feedback loop and conversations with your customers and with your teams? Because building that sort of infrastructure across 9 markets, I would say, for an African, brand.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, right?
Absolutely.
But it's just enshrining this ethos that like we spoke about. So I think about it. I'm Nigerian, but I live in Nairobi. Yeah? I had to learn the culture, right? We'd say this thing about cultural shocks,
Yes.
it is real, right? I came in with this fiery Nigerian tempo, and then you're coming and you're like, hey, boss, tone it down. The world doesn't
Go slowly.
end, right?
Go slowly.
Let's take it one step at a time. So I had to relearn how to be effective in that sort of environment, right?
While not losing who you are.
Not losing who you are, but redefine or rediscover yourself in that sort of scope and still be able to achieve what needs to be achieved, right? Because you can't toil with excellence because that's what you are passing on as feedback to
Absolutely.
me. Right. So with the guys inside, right, the core team at AutoCheck, let's say AutoCheck Kenya, it is that daily reiteration of you have to be the best. Every day is day one. Like nothing has been achieved, so you have to keep on building. It can be intense, and maybe that's my bias.
No, it is intense.
But maybe that's why my bias of saying you don't see people who want to show up and do the work, right? Because maybe that's where it's coming from. Because I do expect that if you have this insane opportunity that we're sitting on, you just have to give it your best.
You have to show up.
Yeah, like show up.
And showing up is doing the right things.
Show up and take the opportunity, because for Africa to really hit that level of wealth we desire, we have to build it, and then we can extract the value from what we
And
build.
grow it every day.
Yeah, we can't keep feeding off someone's table. It's time for us to build, and you can't build if you don't show up and get your hands dirty. So that's how I tie the entire story together. And if you look around the ecosystem, I do think people are trying, right? People are doing their bit, but there's still quite a lot of rails to be built.
100%. So I picked up something just now. Every day is day one.
Correct.
Talk to me about that from an AutoCheck perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, every day is day one in the sense that whatever you achieved yesterday is for yesterday, right? You'd have to pick up today and push at it. So if we narrow the business down to Kenya, the idea is to help the average Kenyan find a verified vehicle, get easy financing, right? Conversation around affordability can be discussed, right? But then just imagine, you tried the service.
Yes.
Check, go online, AutoCheck.Africa, find the car you like, the inspection report is in there, apply for financing, and get multiple offers from different banking partners. Now, to achieve that, it means that the partners need to be engaged. The banks have to be on their toes, and you can imagine what it means to get the bank to deliver that level of service. No offense to our core banking colleagues across the continent. But I think banking needs to do more, right? There's that missing innovation that the continent really needs. I've said affordability is a big thing. It unlocks the market. Our banks, and if I speak for Kenya, because I think I've seen the ecosystem, can really fund this appetite, right? And not just through cheaper capital, but through speed, because people want that convenience. I cannot imagine, I can't understand why I have to wait 1 month, 2 months to get my asset financing
Why?
approved.
Why do you have to wait?
Why do I have to do that?
In the day of data being all over the place? Are you saying that people have to wait for a month?
You can ask around, yeah. And that's really...
But why? You're providing them with all the data.
So it takes that understanding for a bank to take on such innovative solution and run with it, right? So AutoCheck today has built very advanced underwriting models, and we have actually tested with our structures because we've raised debt to lend to the market, but we do believe that sustainable financing in the continent has to be locally driven, right? So if a bank, sizable bank, takes on that initiative, connects to this ecosystem that has been built of share world standard ethics, right? And you can deploy your liquidity. So it's getting Ali, who is the CEO of a bank, to understand that you need to deploy resources off this platform. It doesn't reduce your brand equity or brand ethos or thing. It's really serving the market as the market needs you. I think that's a concept that we are struggling to get people to understand.
In the day 2025. Yeah. So let me just be brutally frank here.
I think that's one thing we share in common with brutal people.
This is 2025, right? Where you can get a mobile banking loan instantly
Yep.
by data that is available,
Yep.
right? Why would it take your banking partners a month to make an approval for an asset finance loan? I mean, you have provided everything. What is the issue here? Let's try and break it down. So maybe we can help everybody.
Yeah, so I think to break that down, let's look at what AutoCheck offers. So
Yes.
AutoCheck offers that service where you find a vehicle on the platform, apply for credit, and you can get an instant offer. And I really mean instant offer. Now, the vision is that offer would come from multiple liquidity providers.
Yes.
In Nigeria, it's effectively running, I think, would have roughly 13 partners.
18 partners.
13 deploying
13,
liquidity
okay.
full-time on the platform. So that customer wants options. Like you walk into a supermarket, you want to see options and then make
Correct,
a choice, right?
correct.
That gives the consumer that power to feel like
And
they
the
are
confidence,
making,
yes.
and the confidence to make the decision. So AutoCheck has enabled that.
Mm-hmm.
However, to deliver that service, you need to be sure that the banking partner beneath is effective, right? And the question he asked is, what is the problem?
Yes.
I think the problem is we are still dealing with the hold of traditional banking
Legacy issues
on the ecosystem, right?
in 2025.
Perceived risk and true risk. Yeah.
Let's break down these two: perceived risk and true risk.
Good. So AutoCheck is in the market and we are dealing with these problems every day. What would
Yes.
be a problem if you are deploying capital? You want to be sure you're deploying capital on an asset,
Correct.
right? You want to be sure
Returns.
your car is tracked, right? You want to be sure that asset is has an insurance on
Correct.
it, and maybe get a comprehensive maintenance plan.
Yes.
That makes your asset secured.
And you've provided all this.
And all that is available, correct? Because before the vehicle gets
You've automated this process.
all these processes are fully automated. And remember,
click.
it's click, but then there is a very heavy operational engine fulfilling all
Look, as a
that service.
customer, I don't care. What
You don't
do.
care.
I don't care
I
what you do
understand.
at the back end.
True.
You know, for me, the best example is when you're using a spreadsheet, whether it's Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets.
True.
We don't appreciate
What goes behind?
what the kind of coding and the kind of servicing that goes behind there.
True.
All I want to know is all my formulas are in the place.
Is working.
It's the same analogy when you come to. So you've provided all this. So you've provided a Microsoft Excel or Word for the financing ecosystem, for asset financing. So
Yeah.
what's stopping? At what point do we start getting friction?
Yeah, so friction will show up where the bank obviously looks at you and, do I need to do this with you? Have you dealt with it? How do you have the years of experience to show that you understand credit? That we have solved because in the market we have maybe deployed in excess of 7-8 million US dollars to prove that the model works. Right?
So you have a track record.
So we have that track record. Then the next question is, can your mind conceive this level of innovation? I think that's where the problem is. Can your mind conceive this next phase?
Okay, so basically, I'm sorry, John. So in 2025, we're dealing with the fact that guys cannot conceive this level of innovation. Is that the bottom line here?
Being brutally honest, I think that's what we're dealing with. Yeah, but I can also understand the sentiments behind, right? Which is, how can you trust that someone can underwrite better than a bank?
Look, after M-Pesa, we are still discussing that conversation. No, seriously. After M-Pesa, we are still having that. So how do you solve for this, John? How do you solve for this? You have, for lack of another word, reluctant partners who are the natural takers. I mean, it's like you're running a relay race, right? And you've reached the next guy to give the baton, And this guy saying, wait. I'm not so sure I want to run this race. How do you solve for that friction?
So if I was sitting on the other side of the fence as a banker, maybe the question I'm asking is, what is in it for me, right? Why am I so reluctant to do this? And we must all understand that at the heart of it, I'm speaking passionately because I believe in Africa,
Yes.
right? And I do think that Africans have to build for Africa.
But then that belief of ours sometimes gets tried in serious ways.
Yeah, but we have to keep on.
We have to keep on trying.
Right. So when you have very strong banks that have done exceptionally well in other sectors, right? But then when it comes to deploying capital for local needs, be it a startup seed investment or whatever it is, then it's not really working. So if we zero in again on this core problem that I'm speaking about, I would ask, what is in it for me, right? If I need to serve a customer, and that I understand that customer needs speed, this offers me speed, right? The next question is, are the fundamentals right? Is this asset properly secured? I do think that's locked in for you, right? I then need to sit with my core or critical stakeholders to say, this is essentially a new innovation that we should stand behind, right? If you look at more developed markets, these models, it's happening, right? South Africa is quite advanced, and then you hear a lot about on-lending. And I do think a lot of the bankers in Kenya particularly have worked outside of Kenya and understand the concept of on-lending. So
we like to tell ourselves that we are at the epicenter of fintech across the financial services ecosystem. And then I hear stories like this and I'm scratching my head. You have done, as AutoCheck, all the heavy lifting, right? And then when you get to that point, the ecosystem starts breaking.
Yeah. So it just requires this very tough and serious conversation, sitting on the table. And I do feel like maybe the pain I'm also feeling is what a lot of other builders in the continent is feeling. We need everyone in the ecosystem to sit and have this very serious conversation around how do we support each other, right? Because if the sentiment, like I had mentioned, is really around the perceived risk, I feel like all that has been sorted, right? Then it's really, can we try? Can we pilot? Can we do something, right? And then see, and then you can keep on learning from it. Because maybe the problem or the critical problem is that there's still that lack of trust in the ecosystem.
That's
and maybe
correct.
maybe it takes a little bit of getting used to. Then one has to also be patient enough, because when you appear too aggressive, then maybe there's an ulterior motive. So you also have to learn that patience to say maybe the market is not mature for it. How do you develop that staying power until the market is ready for such level of innovation? But you and I can tell that the dream of the average African, we have a very burgeoning mid-class, and people don't see mobility as a luxury anymore. It's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
Right? The world is evolving into a space where EVs, the whole climate consideration is moving gradually and replacing the ICE. How can the continent be ready for these realities? Now,
so for example, when you're talking about EVs, I'm sure you know that Kenya has one of the highest renewable energy usages.
yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
87+%.
Yeah.
Right?
I think 85, maybe.
I mean,
It's quite high. It's quite
give
high.
or take 2 percentage points, but it's quite high.
Yeah.
And yet we are still having these conversations about how do we make the asset finance ecosystem play a much bigger role. There's an investment company I sit on the board of, and we were talking just last week about solar as a service. And it has just become another huge potential business for this investment company. And here we are discussing basic issues.
Yeah. So I'm discussing the context of Kenya because
it is very important.
But honestly, across Africa, I think is a very similar problem.
It is the norm, because
see,
if you have this problem in the financial capital of East and Central Africa, then I can just imagine the problems in the other
True,
countries.
true.
Whoa. Okay. Now, as you try to solve for this to sort of create a more even and working ecosystem, how do you currently solve for that? Do you do your own balance sheet?
Yeah, so
You're forced to do your own balance sheet.
So you're forced to do your own balance sheet, and that's where I think we had in this conversation said you need to play your part in that ecosystem.
Correct.
Right. You can't own everything, but you need to. It's almost like you have to start it and then allow
others to come in.
allow the real natural owners to thrive. So
And you're willing to do that.
we are very willing to do that. So if we look at the ecosystem today as it is, you'd have over 600 dealers profiled and registered on the AutoCheck platform.
600 dealers.
Thereabout. And I mean real dealers, not the brokers, right?
This is in Kenya alone or
in
across?
Kenya. I'm trying to put, because of our audience a bit, and
my audience is Pan-African.
amazing, right? But you know, it's also important for
It's
people
good, home ground.
understand it at the local level.
Yeah.
So you'd have 600 dealers, average 30 vehicles on the platform, right? Now these guys want to sell
Per dealer.
They really want to sell vehicles.
Okay, so let's do some quick numbers. 600 dealers.
Yep.
Average 300
30.
vehicles.
Average 30 per person.
Average 30 vehicles per dealer. That's 1,800.
You'd have the bigger
vehicles.
dealers, right? Today, if you look on the website, you've probably seen maybe 5,000 vehicles on the website.
Correct,
So there are guys that have like higher limits, but on the average, let's play with that number. Now, these guys have at least invested a little bit of their
On capital.
seed capital, equity, wherever they got it from, to try to stimulate auto trading in the country. They need bankers to come to the table. Now, AutoCheck is there, digitizing this inventory, creating like the most purified platform for vehicle financing, right? And you'd have the banks playing as well, but being like we've discussed a bit cagey and a bit careful. Let me use that respectful word, careful. What it does is the platform starts to struggle, right? Because it needs,
of course.
So the flywheel needs to go.
You have a flywheel that is being starved of the grease for it to move.
Of the lifeline, right?
Of the lifeline for it to
remember,
move efficiently.
Yeah, Cheki was a very beloved brand in Kenya. It was a 10-year-old brand. People,
I remember.
I think there's no Kenyan that I've spoken to that never visited the Cheki website.
Yes.
So traffic volumes are quite high. And then they come in and they see a rebranded service where they can find or inspected vehicles, yeah? Now they need financing, but that financing is not coming in. As the master conductor of that orchestra, you'd have to step into the ring. And that's what led us to...
So if the cello guy is not doing his work, you are actually stepping in.
Yeah, you're stepping in.
To actually get it done.
Play the bass drum, play the violin. So we are a digital registered credit provider in Kenya. So that allows us to deploy
Yes, I remember
capital.
we had that conversation,
we had a conversation. So it allows you to deploy capital, right? Because then you're deploying USD debt in the market, right? To really serve the customers, right? And that keeps the entity going, right? But you really need to, we have to learn to build natural businesses in the continent. And a natural business would be where local liquidity is funding that cycle. So we have that engine going, right? And which is why we had to get the licenses, ensure that you're compliant with the regulations, and really allow people trade. That's how the platform is thriving today. And across the continent, I think we have done similar models. You heard me explain that in Nigeria, it's the banks now understand it and have taking over. In Kenya, we're patient enough through that journey, right? And I'm sure because your audience is quite
correct.
Expands.
Yes,
I do think a lot of them would listen to us and they'll be like, "Hey, this guy is speaking about me." But yeah, it's that patience, because also I do believe that you also have to allow the markets get matured for each stage of growth. If you force it too much, maybe it breaks, but then you can. I also do think that the market is ready for this next leap.
I agree, and I think these are the conversations that we've actually been asking around the ecosystem. What's next?
Yeah,
we have We have celebrated brands across, you have M-Pesa, you have Cellulant, you have Flutterwave, you have Paystack, you have Fair Money,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And now AutoCheck and the rest. But then when AutoCheck or other super promising African businesses have to go out of the continent to raise money. Yeah? What are we saying about ourselves? That we don't have enough money? Or we don't believe in our own brands that are built by Africans themselves? And we are allowing, and look, don't get me wrong, because I've been talking about this for a while, and I'll continue to talk about it. When we allow foreign direct investment is great because
It's amazing. It serves a purpose.
yeah, it serves a purpose and it brings a good, interesting global mix to how we think about things. But if we lack a fundamental Pan-African position on how we raise funds for established businesses and ecosystems. So I hear we have a lot of diverse conversations around this. Some would say, look, there's money in Africa. Of course there's money in Africa. Yeah? There's more money in Africa than in any other part of the world. Yeah, and you can take that to the bank, no pun intended. But is that money coming to the table? That's the trillion-dollar question. How should it come to the table? How do we, as founders, bring these conversations to the table? How do the owners of capital perceive African businesses? Are they starting to think beyond me bringing a title deed to get funding and start thinking about the business itself?
So I think looking at that, for me, I think the most optimal way to look at this is a hybrid structure where the foreign capital that can stimulate, that can tolerate this early perceived risky investment are coming to steer that growth.
Yes.
It has to transition into local backed liquidity.
100%.
Right.
100%.
And it's still part of the journey. If we look at Africa, our raise, it's still maybe compared to one city out of US.
It's minuscule.
Yeah, it's very little. So
I like to joke that the total money raised in Africa for tech investments is not a rounding error in Microsoft's balance sheet.
I think those are the realities, right?
It's not.
It's the realities. Yeah. But we have to find that right balance or that right mix. But I also agree that when first-time founders exit businesses and can reinvest into the ecosystem, I think things like
It's fundamental.
Yeah, that's really how the continent starts to build its reputation.
Very fundamental.
Right, because that's really where where then we can say we're on the right track. And I think we're getting there, where a lot of the first-time founders are now beginning to reinvest in businesses and taking on that gamble on the next set of entrepreneurs in the continent. But maybe this call is to say, hey, if you are sitting on liquidity, it's also important to start looking how can you support the continent with the right type of capital that it needs. I think that's another conversation that can be had in another table.
Agreed.
So it is a fine balance that I'm calling for, because I also can't say we negate the influence of US.
No, we can't. We can't.
Or-
That's why I'm
or
saying
international capital.
I'm always saying that we need to have a good
Yeah,
balance.
need to have a good balance of it. Yeah.
So, John,
Yeah.
I mean, we are coming towards the end of our conversation. Can you imagine an hour has passed?
I didn't feel like it.
It didn't feel like it.
Didn't feel like
And if it wasn't for my executive director always giving me a nudge, dude, you need to start wrapping this up. How do you see the future for businesses like Cheki and for other African founders across the ecosystem?
Yeah, if I was a trader,
Yes.
if I was a currency trader, I think this is the right time to bet on Africa, right? Because all the signals are
Positive.
are
They're in
very
the green.
positive, right? Very positive, right? It has its size of problems, right? The realities are there, but I do think that the right formula would be on both sides of the equation. Builders in the continent also realizing that we have to be a bit more responsible builders, right? Not fancy builders, but real builders across the continent. And I do think there are a couple of guys that are doing real good work. And then on the other side of investing in these brilliant and great ideas is take that bet, right? Get into the continent, understand what those problems. A lot of rails have not been built in Africa. We're still struggling with identification because there are no concerted or standardized databases that you can identify early and say, at least the same individual that left Nairobi and showed
went
up
to
in
Nigeria.
Dakar or showed up in Lagos, Nigeria. These are real problems. In the payment space, I think overall the fintech space is really booming, as the case might be, but there are still quite a lot of things to build in the
100%,
continent.
100%.
So it's the right time to bet on the continent. But like I said, every participant, every stakeholder in this ecosystem also need to realize that it's more building at this stage. It's not the fancy things yet. The fancy things will come when we build right. That's my view of my take on the continent. Yeah.
Completely agreed. John, thank you so much. This has been an absolute great conversation, and I continue to wish AutoCheck and yourself all the best. As we close, a cheeky question for you.
Okay.
Nigerians love Kenya.
What? Do we have to go there?
Nigerians love Kenya. We have seen quite a bit of this movement. What can we do as a country and as a continent to continue attracting the best and the best and the brightest, not just across the continent, but across the world? Because it is this fantastic mix of people that make an ecosystem successful.
So I think on that subject, and maybe the bigger conversation will be the after African trade agreements and all.
Yes.
So it is, how do you make trade and mobility easy across the continent, right? Because that's when minds, people, resources can move around without a lot of the
100%,
toll gates that you see around. Every Nigerian who visits Nairobi would love Kenya, right? And I think it's a great place to live, work, and you'd have a fine blend of work-life balance, right? Same can happen for a Kenyan moving to Nigeria, right? Because you can have the same, maybe Nigeria is a bit humid or hot, as the case might be, right? But it's fundamentally having that ability to transfer talent, transfer resources across Africa without a lot of friction and limitations. So one can say, like you said, Nigerians love Kenya. I don't think we all just love Kenya alone. We love Uganda, we love Tanzania, we love Ethiopia.
That's true.
Nigerians are very ambitious in nature. I think there's a very common saying that if you go to a place in the world and you don't find a Nigeria, run. Because we are the
run
for your life. Because we're the pulse that signifies if this place is
happening.
It's not really happening. If it's habitable, or if it's not. So I think that's what we do for the continent.
I love that analogy.
But it's fundamentally ensuring that people can move, be it Kenya or vice versa as well. Yeah.
John, thank you so much.
I think I'll end the conversation asking you a question.
Ask me.
I think you've been a very critical player in the ecosystem, right? What are your views, right? What are you seeing, right? Sitting as as the chair of the
Association of Fintech.
the Association of Fintech in Kenya. What are you seeing as well? Because it's also good to hear from multiple stakeholders around this.
So, for me, one of the key things are three key issues that I am always talking about. Number one is the mobility of people, as you've talked about. The mobility of people is always hampered by bad policies. The people we put in power. As Africans, we need to pay a lot of attention to politics.
Yeah.
We seem to have this thing that politics is the dirtiest game in town. But I want to give you an analogy when it comes to politics.
Okay.
For business people, and that's one of the key reasons we founded the Association of Fintechs in Kenya, because we needed to have a seat at the table. And I don't know whether you've heard this before. I always, whenever I get an opportunity, I like to talk about it. For you as a business person, in whatever industry you are in,
Yeah.
that you don't get involved in policy making for your industry, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you take a back seat.
You're going to be in trouble. It's akin to, so if you walk into a restaurant, you have three scenarios. One, you are serving as a waiter, waitress, or chief waiter, whatever. You are serving the food, right? Two, you are the one ordering the food
Yeah.
you're eating. Now, these two are not too bad, but you would rather be the one ordering the food than the one serving the food. If you get my meaning.
I get you.
But there's another part that we hardly talk about.
Okay.
If you're not among these two, you're most likely probably on the menu being eaten. And you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't be eating. Yeah.
You don't want that. And too many of us in industry think we don't want to get involved in. The best example is Kenya, how the Central Bank of Kenya decided overnight we're going to regulate the digital credit providers. Yeah. And you find that overnight, you have no business. Now, we think about disruption in forms of business models, in forms of new technologies and stuff. But we don't think about disruption from a policy and regulatory perspective.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I see that we need to get more involved in these conversations across Africa.
I think that's quite critical.
Lastly, for me, is that we have this humongous toothless bulldog called the African Union that does jack. I'm sorry. This is a fact. Yeah, that we have to talk about. So the most critical thing for Africans to think about is that how do you turn this moribund conglomeration of African governments into an actual important, critical policy-making body for the continent.
Yeah.
So I've gone a bit into politics, but as I've said,
don't be on the menu.
Yes, don't be on the menu. Don't be on the
menu.
menu, guys. Don't be on the menu. John, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Asante sana.
Thank you, man. Thank you.